All right. Let's start all over. So good morning, everyone. And I would like to start by having you all just introduce yourselves really quickly and just let me know what it is that you hope to learn from today, or where you are with QuickBooks. Are you thinking about using it? You have used it? Just give me a little insight if you would.
I'm Deneen Urbanic from Ellsworth. My husband and I have our own company, just newly started. And so I'm checking out QuickBooks to see if it's the application we would like to use for our business.
Okay, very good. Judy?
I'm with the Smoky Hill Museum. I use QuickBooks in our store. I've never had any formal training, so I'm up for anything I can learn.
Okay, very good. Lois? Lois? Are you talking? No, I don't hear you. How about Salina Arts and Humanities? Susan, we are just doing introductions and, oh, I can't hear you, Lois. I'm not sure why. We are just doing introductions and I'm trying to find out, like, have you used QuickBooks? Are you looking to use QuickBooks, or kind of what you hope to get out of today?
I've used QuickBooks, just kind of looking to improve my skills.
Okay. All right. Well, we are going to get started. And as I was saying earlier, I don't have a PowerPoint for this presentation because QuickBooks, of course, is highly technical and it's hard to put it in a PowerPoint, but I do have a little booklet that I will send out to you hopefully by tomorrow. And I'm meeting hopping today, and it will go over the steps that we went over today. So I am going to share my screen, I think, and go back to finding what I want to share. So what I'm going to show you today is there's several versions of QuickBooks, and of course this is QuickBooks Online. And what we're going to go through, this version that I have up here is the QuickBooks Online for nonprofits, but the one for small businesses is very, very similar. I'll point out the few differences that I'm aware of between the nonprofit version and the for-profit version. The biggest thing really being is that in the nonprofit version, when we look at invoices and stuff, it'll mention pledges as opposed to invoice. I'm not sure why they do that with the nonprofit version, but anyways, I certainly would like for you all to ask me any questions that you have as we go along, and I'll do my best to answer all those questions. So the first thing that I'd like to kind of go over with you is when we start, and can everybody see the screen okay? Everybody see the QuickBooks? And it says Wichita Independent Neighborhoods?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing really I want to go over with you is looking at this little, when you get into QuickBooks, when you first sign up with QuickBooks or whatever, you see this little gear right here. Everybody see that little gear here in the corner? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is going to be the first place that when you go to set up, this has all of your setup there on that little gear icon will be, gosh, I'm struggling, will be where you'll go to set up your account in QuickBooks. So if I can. It looks like I'm just going to have technical difficulties all the way around today. Oh my goodness. It did not just shut down. It did just shut down. I am so sorry. I don't ever have this many technical difficulties. But it seems that, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It seems like everything that I'm going to do today is going to be difficult. But I pulled up on my other computer because I am logged on twice as a backup. So give me a second and I'll open this up. Oh, goodness. I don't know about anybody else, but this is kind of frustrating me. My computer is involved in the circle of death. Oh, it's coming back. Sorry, still trying to get this to come up. All right, can you see that? Let's try this again. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right, so back there where that gear is, this is where you're going to do all of your actual setup for your QuickBooks account. And this also allows you to do change the settings for your account, to manage the users for your account. As you can see, you can create custom form styles, and we'll go through some of these. You will want to set up your chart of accounts through here. So all of these different things that you see here are all the different, your reconciliation and everything. They're all done through that little gear that's up there. So let's kind of look at over here. Let's start with looking at the account and settings. So this is going to allow you to look at putting in your company name. And of course you can see here where I put in the company name. It's easy enough to change that. Should you have to change that to another name for some reason, you change your name or whatever, you can put in the company's EIN number, or if you've got like a sole proprietorship and you're using your own social security number to run your company, you can do that as well. You can pick the company type, put in your company email. If you would like to have a different customer facing email, you can choose a different customer facing email. And a good example might be, I run a small business called the Slumber Party Place. When I use QuickBooks, I want my company email is different than my customer facing email is reservations at the Slumber Party Place. And my company email is Cindy Miles at the Slumber Party Place. So, but the customer facing email that I want happens to be reservations at the Slumber Party Place, because that's what I have most people contact me through, because they're looking to make reservations at the Slumber Party Place. Your company address, the customer facing address. And again, you might have an address, maybe you office out of your home or something like that, but you want the invoices to go someplace else, or you want the invoices to come to your home, but your business address is someplace else. And we're like that with the Slumber Party Place. So we don't office at the Slumber Party Place. I have mail come to my home, and but we want them to certainly have the address of the Slumber Party Place. So you have the option to set up any of these. You even have an option to set up marketing preferences for communications with Intuit. So letting them know what products do you want to hear about, what updates do you want to get from them, those types of things. So any questions about this part of the setup for your company? Here's where you can choose what kind of tax form you want to set up. Okay, and then going on to billing and subscription, this will be where you'll control all what you subscribe to in regards to QuickBooks. Can I ask a question? Does any of you that use QuickBooks, are you doing the online, or are you doing what you actually download to your computer?
We use the desktop version.
Desktop, that's so this may differ a little bit from the desktop version. Does it look like it does so far?
Not sure. We've had our account set up for a long time, so we haven't.
Yeah, and I have a desktop version as well that I use for my small business. But with the nonprofit chamber, or with the nonprofit accounts that I work with on QuickBooks, you can go through TechSoup and get an annual online subscription for $75 to QuickBooks, which is a pretty good deal for the online. And I don't know if any of you like the Salina Arts and Humanities. I don't know if you do that or not, or have considered doing that, but anyways, your billing and subscriptions is the place where you're going to really manage what subscriptions you have to QuickBooks if you're using the online version. And it gives you the option, and of course this is QuickBooks Plus, and it shows that it's through TechSoup, but you can certainly upgrade your plan or downgrade your plan and look at what the other options are. You can add payroll, and in my opinion, if any of you have ever used or you haven't used the QuickBooks Online Payroll, I love it because here at the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber, we use the online payroll because I don't have to have somebody do payroll. You can just set everything up, and I'll show you that later. And then I can just go in and approve all my staff's payroll and everything, and it automatically they get deposits into their bank account. So I love that about QuickBooks. There is an option. Yes. Do you have a question? No. Okay. There is an option to set up QuickBooks Time in the online version. There may be that in the desktop version. I'm not as well versed with the desktop version, even though I use it some. But this would allow you to use QuickBooks as a time clock. Each of these different things that you add a little bit of cost to your subscription. So that's where you control your billing and subscriptions. With this particular version, you can have up to 5 billable users. So you can add several people within your organization if you want to be able to use your version of QuickBooks. And here you can see this is an account I'm setting up for a nonprofit organization that I'm using today. So you can see there's me and somebody else that was with that organization that can help control that. But you can add additional, like I said, up to 5 people. There, with this particular version, you can set up your chart of accounts with up to 250 accounts. And in my opinion, I think most small businesses, small nonprofits, 250 options for your chart of accounts, I think is a pretty good number. I don't know what those of you that are using QuickBooks currently, does that seem like a reasonable number of accounts to be able to set up?
That's way more than we use.
Yeah, it's way more than we use at the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber as well. So you can set up, you can do that. You can certainly set up stuff, customize stuff related to your cells. So you can set up here whatever your terms are for payment of your invoices. And you can, when we get into the invoices, I'll actually show you how you can change those terms per invoice if you'd like to be able to do that. You can set up delivery method for that, whatever it is you happen to be sending out. You can turn on shipping. I don't have any reason to have that turned on for this account. These are all easy enough to turn off and on by just clicking on that particular link. And you can see how you can easily turn all of these off and on. Tips, you can turn those off and on. You certainly can take invoice payments through QuickBooks, and that's one of the features that I really like about QuickBooks is being able to take those credit cards, ACH payments. That's again easy enough to set up. Yeah, there's how you set that up. And then your products and services, you can set up where you automatically charge late fees for overdue invoices. You can set up where you do progress invoicing, messages, reminders, online delivery, and other statements. So that's kind of an overview of that. Yes. Okay, and here's where you'll set up stuff related to your different expenditures. So you can choose to show item table on expenditure and purchase forms, show tags, track expenditures by each particular customer. And again, these are easy enough to turn off and on by just clicking anywhere in the box and being able to set up these particular things, turning them on or off. You can set up your default payment terms here up to net 60. You can add a new payment term if you wanted to say net 90 or whatever you wanted it to say. You can certainly add a new one if you don't like the options that they give you. QuickBooks gives you a lot of good options. They have a lot of things that are pre-set up, and that's one of the things that I really like about QuickBooks is that they give you all those options. You can turn off or on whether or not you want to use purchase orders for purchasing. And then you can actually create a default message. And of course, they have one in here. So when you use purchase orders that they'll actually send, put in text for you, or you can change that and customize that in whatever way you want to customize that. And you can say, you can see it would take a little bit of time to go through and set up all the different information in your account, and so here's where you can manage merchant details for whatever merchant that you're tied to. And I won't go way off into that. You can manage your deposit accounts. And I certainly recommend that when you first get into setting this up, that you tie your bank account to QuickBooks, because QuickBooks will then automatically pull information from your bank and populate all the different areas. It'll populate when deposits come in. It'll populate when money is taken out of your account. We'll talk about that later as well. You can choose here when you want your monthly statements. Here's more about your chart of accounts, and then you can set up your payment methods in here. Any questions about any of that? All right. So I don't have time tracking set up in here, but you certainly, as I mentioned earlier, could set up the time tracking. And you can see it's $10 a month to do time tracking for your staff or whoever you want to track time for. Plus it's $10 a month plus $8 per user per month. And I'm not going to go into that, and it's going to cause my computer to do weird things anyways. Let's not do that. And then there's the advanced features of things that you can set up. So you can set up what's the first month of your fiscal year. This one happens to be January, but of course you can pick whatever month that you want that to be. The first month of your revenue tax year, your accounting method. So whether you're using accrual or using a cash basis, closing the books. Again, here's that tax form, the chart of accounts, whether you want account numbers to be off or on. Some people like to use the account number, some people don't. You can set up different categories here of different classes and locations. So I'm not going to go over each and every one of these, your date format, your number format. It's just, there's a lot of things in here. And probably if you were going to set up QuickBooks and you went through this stuff, there'd be some things that you'd want to change and some things you'd probably just leave as a default for what the current default is. So any questions about this? Does this all seem simple enough?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We'll move on then. Give me just a second. All right, let's close out of this particular thing here. So there's always, anytime you're working in QuickBooks, I just want to point out if whether you're looking for an invoice or whether you're looking for a particular customer, whatever it is you're looking for, you can always go here to use this search tool and look for anything that you wanted to look for within QuickBooks. So let's say I wanted to go find out something about, oh, it didn't pop up. I didn't do that well enough. Well, I guess I didn't find me. I was looking for myself in here and I thought I was in here. This is what should have popped up. So you can go look the particular invoices and stuff in QuickBooks just by using that search bar. All right, I'm going to take you back to, well, first I'm going to go over what all these things are here on the left, and then we're going to go look at setting up a chart of accounts. Has everybody set up a chart of accounts before?
Yes.
No,
Yes, no? Susan, did you say no?
No, we have.
Oh, you have. Okay. Anybody else?
this is Deneen. I said no.
Okay. Okay. I knew somebody who said no, but I couldn't really. So because you're a new business. Are you familiar with setting up a chart of accounts, Deneen?
No.
No. Okay. Well, you might find that pretty interesting because I know the first time that I set up a chart of accounts probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I've got a master's degree, so I'd taken master's level accounting classes, but it was a little bit intimidating for me the first time that I did that. Let's look over here on this sidebar just to get an idea of what you'll find over here on this sidebar. So you've got your dashboard, which really shows you a snapshot of your business activity for a particular period of time. So this is what your dashboard is going to look like. And you can go to this dashboard at any point in time. And I see it kind of as an alternative to using some of the stuff that's on this sidebar, but you can look at adding products and services to what you've already got listed under your products and services. You can manage your customers from your dashboard. You can certainly create estimates, send invoices, receive payments, pay the bills. That's important, right? And then you can look at getting your accounting and reports, your business banking. You can review transactions. You can see other reports and trends, or you can talk to a bookkeeper. And I don't know that if I mentioned, and I guess I'll mention it down here where it says my accountant, where you can actually connect your accountant up to QuickBooks. They're not considered an additional user. So they're not one of you with this particular version where you can have up to 5 users. That addition of the accountant, I think you can add 2 accounting people that don't particularly take up one of your 5 users that you're allowed with QuickBooks Online. Under banking, you're going to find all the information about your banking transactions, rules that you can set up, tags and receipts. Let's look at that really quick. So you can connect, and I don't happen to have a bank account set up to this account as of yet that I'm setting up, but certainly you can connect a bank or a credit card, and that will automatically allow you to review and add your transactions and see how your business is doing. You can also upload transactions as opposed to connecting your account. So there are some banks that for some reason, they just don't have the technology still in this day and age to be able to connect to something like QuickBooks. And so I love the fact that there's this option that if you could go to your bank online, you could download like an Excel spreadsheet that you can actually upload to QuickBooks. It is much easier though if you set up and connect your bank or credit card to QuickBooks, because then it automatically populates your QuickBooks with that information from your account, as opposed to you having to upload. But I did want you to know that it is an option to be able to upload those transactions if that's what you have to, if that's what you need to do. Because so linking your bank is really pretty easy. You can enter your bank name. And so if I was going to enter, I'll enter my personal bank name. So Skyward Credit Union. Then it would ask me to sign into my Skyward Credit Union account, which I will not do in front of the rest of you. But then once it connects with that account, then that information will automatically start flowing into QuickBooks. It'll automatically be populated into QuickBooks. So it's really a pretty simple process to connect your bank account, as long as you know your login information and that bank account that you're connecting to, or that credit card that you're connecting to, as long as it has the ability to let you do that. So your app transactions. Again, this is where if this was connected, you could not only see that, but you can connect up Amazon Business. So if you have the business app through Amazon, it will automatically populate with whatever transactions, whether it's payments, whether it's purchases that you've made through Amazon. And I don't know about any of you, I'm a big Amazon user, buy a lot of stuff through Amazon. So you can integrate the Amazon Business, you can integrate Square. So I'm also a Square user. I use that for my business, and it will automatically populate your QuickBooks with the Square transactions. So you don't have to go out and get those transactions, and it will do the same with eBay. There are also other apps that you can look for that will connect with your QuickBooks. And here's a few: PayPal, Bill.com. I don't know if any of you use Bill.com. Here's a few free apps that are built by QuickBooks that you can connect to. Shopify. So any of these that you can connect to your QuickBooks, so it'll automatically populate that information, should save you a little bit of time in having to enter that information when you have transactions. So you don't have to automatically enter that. Should save you a little bit of time. I'm not really going to talk about rules or tags. Let's talk about receipts. So when you have receipts, you can actually upload those receipts from your computer, from Google Drive, or you can forward them from an email. And again, QuickBooks will populate with that receipt information. And I love the fact that, I don't know about you, but with what I do between the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber and the small business that I own, I am inundated with receipts. And I love the fact that instead of having stacks and stacks of receipts, I can actually upload them into QuickBooks and save them there. And I don't have to have all those piles of paper. So any questions about anything related to banking right now? Nope. What do you think, Deneen?
Well, so far I like what I'm seeing.
Okay.
The banking seems very easy to put your information in.
Yeah, and that's one of the, I've been using QuickBooks Online, I think I said about 5 years. And that's one of the things that I have really liked about it, is that it seems so easy to set up, to use.
Right.
I love the integrations that it has. Anything that can make my jobs a little bit easier, then I love that.
Yes.
Invoicing. So let's go just a little bit over. I did not want to pick overview, but if I do pick overview, what is this popping up? No, I'm not going to do that. So this kind of gives you an overview of your income over time in your invoicing. Kind of gives you an idea of money that's supposed to be coming in. You can give an idea. It tells you and gives you an overview of pledges, payment links that are set up. Let's see, Susan. So with payment links, I love this because, and this is a somewhat newer feature for QuickBooks Online, that you can actually go in and set up a particular link for a particular dollar amount. And this would be great for donations. And you can set up a particular link. And if somebody goes to that link, you can put that on their website. And let's say they wanted to join this organization, this Wichita Neighborhood Association or Wichita Independent Neighborhood Association. So you can actually go in and set up a link. You can copy that link. You can put it on your website. You can put it on social media that says join now, fill out this form, and here's the link to pay. So that is something that I had been looking for quite some time to be able to do. And I was always having to use Square or PayPal or something like that in order to be able to provide that link. You can now set that up in QuickBooks and set it up with a certain payment amount and put that on your website. So that's a feature that I really like. This covers all the different sales, customers, and we'll go back and look at some of these things, deposits, and the products and services. So I'm going to go back to pledges. And again, because this is a nonprofit account, this will be named differently in a regular QuickBooks account. I don't know why they insist that it has to be pledges if it's a nonprofit account, but anyways, doesn't matter. So this allows me to not only look at what outstanding invoices that the organization has, what they've invoiced for, but creating an invoice is really as simple as going over here to create invoice. And then literally selecting the customer. So here's, let's say we want to invoice Alita, and I'll show you how to set up Alita. You can put in Alita's email. Let me close this. The customer email, because I already have Alita set up. Here's her billing address. The terms that we automatically have set up are 30 days. Her pledge date, this would be invoice date in your regular QuickBooks. You can go in and put in whatever that is and whatever you want the due date to be. If you decided you were going to invoice somebody and your default is set up as net 30 days, but you wanted this one to be due on receipt, or you want it to be 60, or let's say you wanted to add a new term, and let's say we want it to be due by the 10th day of the month. We could save that. Oh. Let me name that. Got to name that. So then I could pick 10th day of the month. And you can see how that automatically changes the due date to 5/10/2022. then you can go in and we will look at how you set these different items up, but you can put in the service date. So with this one, we have populated product or service. So this would be, let's say, membership dues. Then you can go in and put your own description. So maybe we wanted to say April 2022 to March of 2023. Maybe we wanted to say that. And one, that's easy enough. The rate for membership is $25. We can put a custom message on this invoice if we want, or if we're creating a statement. We want to create an attachment. So if you had something else that you wanted to attach, you can certainly attach that as well. And then when we get that invoice all put together, you can either save it and automatically send it to the person that you want to send it to. You can save it and close it. Maybe you're not ready to send it. Maybe they're going to have some other things that you want to add to the invoice. You can save and share a link. So maybe you don't want to actually send an email out to them that has this particular invoice. Maybe you just want to save it and you can do, if you do save and share a link, it will give you, oh, I don't have it. It'll give you an actual link that you can put an email. Sometimes at the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber, we use this if somebody hasn't paid. We'll follow up and say, here's a link, we sent you out an invoice. Here's a link to your invoice if you want to go ahead and get that paid. So those are your different options, or you can choose to just save it and not send it at all if you want to do that. There's also the option over here to print or preview. So you can print it either out on your computer, you can print it as a PDF. There is an option to make this invoice recurring. So if you had a recurring donor, if you had a customer that subscribed to something, or you were doing consulting and you needed to invoice, whatever the reason might be, you can go in here and easily set up a recurring invoice for that customer. And so you can choose between scheduled, so it's automatically scheduled, or that you send them a reminder, or if you decide you want to not have it scheduled, you can unschedule it as well. So you can choose how many days in advance you want to send it. So here at the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber, we invoice our members at different times during the year. And so if their membership is renewing in March, we will send out their first invoice 6 weeks prior to give them plenty of time to pay their membership for the following year. So I could say, I wanted to send it out 45 days in advance. You can choose here whether you want to automatically send the emails, whether you want to print it later, or whether you want to include any unbilled charges. Again, I've set up the cards. So when they get this invoice, they can do one of two things. They can either choose to pay by credit card, they can choose to have a bank transfer done, or they can print out the invoice and send it in with a check. Down here is where you'll easily set up what is that interval that you want this recurring invoice to go out on. Do you want it to go out monthly, daily, annually? And what day do you want it to go out on? And what date do you want to start that? And when do you want it to end? So do you want it to end on a certain date? You want it to end after you've sent out 10 invoices? Exactly how do you want that sent out? And then the rest of this stuff is just the information, just like we talked about earlier with that, where you're setting up that particular recurring invoice. So any questions about that? Am I going too fast?
No, you're fine.
Okay. All right. So that seems easy enough, right? Deneen?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, it does.
What are you thinking about this?
I think it seems very easy to navigate, very simple to work
I think
through.
so. Those payment links, we talked about the payment links. So this is a place that under all sales that you can go and look at all the invoices that you have set up. And as you can see, I haven't set up very many for this organization yet, but this is where you can go and view all of those. This is where you'll go and actually view all of your customers. So I have imported customers from a spreadsheet. So if you have some way that you can export information into a spreadsheet, you can import that information into QuickBooks. So it'll automatically set these clients up. So that's what we've done with this account. You can see we need to go and fill in some blanks where some of these people that didn't have information in the spreadsheet. But I love the fact that you can easily import that information, because I know here when we started using QuickBooks 5 years ago, that was a real issue, was we had all this information in Excel, and whether we were going to be able to easily put it into QuickBooks, or whether that was going to take us a lot of time. And it literally was very easy to do. So let's look at creating a new customer, which you do right over here on the right. I keep having to move you all around. Okay. So it's literally as easy as picking that new customer, and you could put in all of their information. I like this here under customer display name, because a good example, I guess, again, here at the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber, we have lots of members that have memberships through their nonprofits or through their businesses or whatever. And we have some, though, that are with certain companies or nonprofits, but they join as an individual member. So when we display a name, we display that name based on whether or not they joined as an organization or where they joined as an individual member. So I'm trying to think of other ways that might be applicable to what you do. You might have an organization that has a parent company, but then the local company is the local branch is who you're invoicing. So that might be a reason to put a different name underneath there. You can, I don't really know what to say about this information. If there's a particular name you want to print on the checks, you can certainly put that in there. If you wanted to set up a sub customer, so a sub customer would be, you have an organization, and it is Salina Arts and Humanities. Okay, that's the parent customer. So we would set up Salina Arts and Humanities, but maybe under Salina Arts and Humanities, we have Susan, because she buys some stuff from the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber. And then maybe there's another employee, maybe it's the HR director, she buys some stuff. Maybe there's the IT person, he buys some stuff. So you can actually set each one of those buyers up underneath that parent customer. So if you need to invoice different people within that organization, the invoices need to go to different people, then you can actually have their information set up. Did I make that clear? All right. There's where you set up your there's where you set up the addresses, of course. And you can add notes, and again, you can add attachments. Then you can set up primary payment methods. So whatever it is that they generally either prefer to use or how you're going to bill them, you can set up your terms. If you need delivery options for where you need to deliver. You can set that up. I love the fact that, and I don't have any customer types in here. I'll show you how to do that shortly. But again, going back to, I don't know, I use the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber as a good example. So in our particular account, we have customer types, we have consulting customers, we have individual members, we have nonprofit members, we have business members, we have educational institutions as members. So we have all these different levels of membership. So we can put in whatever those different types of memberships are, and we can choose when we set up that particular customer, what kind of a customer that they are. If there's some sort of exemption that's applicable, then you can put that in. Opening balance, if you're bringing them in, this customer in from another, like you've had them in Excel and you've imported that information and they had an opening balance, it will automatically populate in there, or you can manually put it in there. So that's pretty much what there is to setting up a customer. You think that covers everything that you would want to set up for a customer? Is there anything else that you think might be missing? Okay, so let's go over to, and you know, I should have mentioned that you do have this search bar here that, again, if you want to find a customer quickly, I don't know why it doesn't want to find me. You see, I'm in there. Then you could quickly go to me as a customer or whoever it is. Look at my invoices, my history. So I had a invoice on 2/19. As you can see here, I paid it. And I'll show you how to do that as well. It also will, when I go to look at that invoice, as you can see, this will give you a history of whether that, and I love this, whether or not that person that you've sent an invoice has actually opened and viewed the invoice. It might be, you know, there might be red flags if you look at this and you go back and you look at the 60-day history and somebody hasn't paid, but yet you see that it will show you if they've not opened the invoice, if they've not viewed the invoice, it'll just show that it's sent and not viewed. But for those who want to say to you, well, I never got the invoice, but you go back here and you see that they viewed that invoice 6 times. That's you'll know automatically that they in fact did, and they just didn't pay it. So you can deal with that. So your deposit tab will simply show you that the deposits that have been made from those invoices that have been sent out or other things. So you can go quickly look at those deposits, and it'll actually show you when that deposit was made. Here's it can take you back to the invoice to check out the invoice. I want to make sure that I also tell you that you can resend, like if you come back to this invoice and they didn't open it, you can simply go back down here and do save and send again, and it will resend that invoice to that customer as many times as you want. All right, and then we've got the products and services. So this is a place where you would set up the different items that you're selling, the different donation levels that you wanted to provide, anything like that. It's very simple to do. You would just go over here to where it says new. And you would have to decide, is this item that you're setting up an inventory item? So a non-inventory item. Is it a service that you're providing? Is it some sort of a bundle, or is it something that is actually an inventory item that you can count and then allows you to turn on the inventory tracking? So let's look up, if you were going to set up a service, you simply would just pick that service. And let's say the name of the service was going to be consulting. You can set up a SKU if you want to. You can, so we have, this would be a new category. So you can simply just choose the new category. So let's say the new category is going to be, well, I'm going to make it consulting too. I'm going to go back here and say neighborhood consulting. Okay. And then I'm going to add new category, consulting. Save. And then you can put a description, and you can say whether or not you sell this product and service to your customers. You can say what the rate is for that particular item. So let's say this rate for this consulting is going to be $75 an hour. And then you can pick up what income account. And although we have not gone and set up the chart of accounts yet, QuickBooks will automatically populates a certain part of your chart of accounts. And so it gives you an opportunity, you can use these things that they basically set up, which I love because they're a great guiding tool. This particular thing, consulting, let's say that's legal and professional services. Okay. And I don't purchase this product from a vendor. And that's all I need to say about that particular service. And I can do save and new, or I can do save and close. I'm not going to do either one because this organization doesn't do consulting. Any questions about that? Any of that?
Oh,
Nope. Okay. All right. So I think we've gone all through invoicing. So here you can kind of get an overview of your cash flow for your organization. As we all know, or should know, that cash flow is king for any organization, nonprofit or for-profit business. So this, if we had this tied to the bank account, this would let us look at how much money in and how much money out the organization has. And again, another opportunity to, there's actually several different places in here where you can actually connect to that bank account. I think QuickBooks really wants you to make sure that you connect to that bank account, because so much stuff is populated with that. Again, you can look at with this cash flow. Here's another place where you can create an invoice. You can look at upcoming money in. So what do you have invoiced? You can look at what has actually been paid. And then you can look at the money that's going out from your organization. You can create a bill, which we'll do here shortly. You can look at the overdue bills, the open bills. QuickBooks does have an option to set up a checking account or bank account through QuickBooks. If you prefer not to use a local bank, I personally like using the local bank, but that is an option. Okay, and this is a planner. I don't use this. I don't know much about this. I'm not going to try to explain it to you. All right, so then when we get over here to expenditures, when you need to set up stuff related to expenditures, you can create a new transaction. And again, whether you want to put that in as a bill, whether you want to put that in as an expenditure. So let's say that I ordered something from Amazon and I need to put this in because I'm not linked up. I can put that in as an expenditure. Whether you need to create a check, a purchase order, a vendor credit, or pay down a credit card. So let's start with looking at a bill. So let's say that, and I'll show you how to set up the vendors as well. But let's say I got my electric bill and I wanted to actually record that electric bill in here. I can add that new vendor because I don't have that vendor in here. Let's say I want to add Evergy. Then I can put in who the contact is, the email, all that same information that I put in when we were looking at setting up an invoice. I can put in their business ID number. I can track payments for a 1099. If I had a particular rate that I wanted to put in here because they charge me the same thing every time, like I pay $172 a month for my copier and they send me a bill every month, then I can put that in there, what the terms are, the account number on that account, what that default expenditure category is. So if I was talking about my copier, then I have a default in here, and let's see if I have one for equipment. I could say rent and lease because I'm renting that copier. What the opening balance was of that, if I needed to put that in, and then you can save that. And then again, just like your invoice, you can go in and put what the date is, what the category is. See if I have one. This one again is for what do we say? Rent and lease. And then I could say, well, this is for my May payment for my copier. And then the other thing, back to these attachments, and we do this here at the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber, I can scan that bill if I so want to, and I can just attach it to this bill that I've created, and then we can throw the bill away. So I'm into keeping lots of things electronically. I love to keep things digitally, I guess. And so I love the fact that I can just attach that and we can reduce the paper that we have. So down here, then my choices are to save and schedule that payment. So I can do that. I can save and create a new one, or I can just save it and close it, and I could come back later and pay it if I wanted to. You can also make that invoice recurring, or that bill recurring. And if you want to set it up here, you can set it up to where it will pay that bill every month for you, if that's what you choose to do. All right. Here you're going to find an actual list of all the vendors that you have, as well as you can add the new vendors here as well. You can also import vendors if you have an Excel spreadsheet or something else you're using. I know prior to using QuickBooks, we used, or the gal that was doing our bookkeeping used Peachtree. And so we exported all those files into Excel spreadsheets, imported them into QuickBooks, and that made the transition a whole lot easier. So you do have that option. You do have the option to help them do the preparation of the 1099s. But back here, I'll just click on again. QuickBooks has so many different ways that you can do the same thing, but certainly back to adding a new vendor. can do that here. Same information as we discussed earlier. So pretty simple to use. And it is 9:48. So I think that we should take maybe a 10-minute break and let you get up and walk around for, is 10 minutes, 5 minutes? What would you like to take?
No preference, you say.
What's that?
You tell us.
All right, let's come back at 10 o'clock. How's that? That way, I don't want to put you all to sleep because this, in my opinion, this is not, QuickBooks is not as exciting as like talking about creating a business plan, I guess. So let's come back in about 10 minutes or 10 o'clock and we'll pick up from there.
Okay, thank you.
Sound good? All right, thank you.
Thank you. to noon. Okay, bye.
Excuse me, I can't hear you at all.
Oh,
There
how's
we go.
that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Do I need to go back over that whole project part? Oh, gosh,
I
sorry
kept
about.
clicking on, that's okay. I kept clicking on things and couldn't hear you on my
Okay,
end.
sorry about that.
No worries.
Oh, my. I'm gonna go back to the project and just, oh no, there it goes. I love technology when it works the way I want it to work. So I'm going to go back over what I said about setting up a project.
Thank you.
Sorry. So you can track projects in QuickBooks. And as you can see by this little thing right here, when you put information in, when you set up a project, it can pull in information about, you know, the income and the revenue and expenses and stuff related to that project to give you an idea of what your profit margin is. So if you were working on a remodeling project, you know, that might be something that you want to track. So you could put in remodeling project, and then who the customer is for, you can pick from your customer list, of course. And I was picking Andy, and then what is the start date of that project and when do you expect to end the project? And then kind of keep track of the status of that project, whether it's in progress, whether it's completed, whether it's canceled, whatever, so it can pull that information together and give you this overall, you know, what was the profit margin on that particular project, and then notes. And the nice thing about this is it's not only a good way to track those projects, it's also, because you can have up to 5 users, it's also nice that, let's say here I was working on a consulting project, and I was going to do board assessment training, and I was going to do a board development training followed by that. And then I was going to help an organization do strategic planning. I could set up that consulting project for that nonprofit that I was working with. And my administrative assistant, who does our invoicing and stuff, could also see when she needed to invoice for a particular thing. And then we could look at, you know, what are the expenses if I had to travel out to an area to do that consulting. We could look at all of that, but she could be up to date at any point in time, or anybody else within my organization, to kind of see where we're at with that project. So that's kind of overseeing some projects. And then payroll. And again, I know I told you that was that there's an additional cost for that. I love the payroll option. We do here in the nonprofit chamber, we do the core level. And it's, well, I guess they have a deal right now where it's $22.50 a month plus $4 per employee contractor per month. But then it goes up to $45. So again, it's for us because we're a small organization. It's easy for us to use QuickBooks to set up all of our payroll stuff. It does, you know, I can just go in there and set up, put in the hours of my staff and all, and it's very easy to do that. The deposits are quick, but you can see there's several levels here for setting up payroll. And I love the fact that it automatically makes the tax payments and that, you know, the payroll taxes and all those different things are all set up and just all happens automatically. And then I can get reports for all of that. Any of you use QuickBooks for payroll or thinking about using QuickBooks for payroll?
We are also considering that for our business.
Yeah. I like it. So doing the time clock, wait, oh, wait, I missed something on payroll. Sorry about that. So you can also add contractors if you're contracting out to somebody to do some work. So let's put that this organization is contracting out to the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber. So once I send this to them, then they get to automatically fill out the information about their organization. They can put everything in about the organization. If I don't use them anymore, I can make them inactive. You can see here that it's waiting for info to get info from that contractor. You can track here the payment history. You can add they add their W-9 information. So you automatically have that W-9 information. And then you can choose several different ways. You can either choose to pay them with a direct deposit if they've set up their bank account information for that to go in a particular way. You can choose to pay them with a check. You can create a particular expense for that vendor. And again, this is very much like if you were going to set up a bill, you just are going to set it up as an expense. You can show what payment account you want that money to come from. So you can have it automatically come from, this happens to be Emprise Bank, but where do you want that payment to come from? You can pick what payment method that you used or you want to even use. And again, just set that up just like you would an invoice, a bill, sorry. So the other thing that you have here in payroll is workers' comp. You can actually buy workers' comp insurance through QuickBooks, who's probably nobody's surprised about that, or through a partner, but you go through QuickBooks to get a quote so you can connect your workers' comp up with the QuickBooks as well. QuickBooks does not lack options. So again, you can do timesheets with QuickBooks. The cost to do that is $10 a month plus $8 per user per month. That's a deal for 3 months, and then it's $20. I don't use, and nor have I used the time tracking. I think I like the fact that it would easily integrate into the other things that QuickBooks is doing, especially the payroll, that it would automatically do that. So depending on the size of your company, your organization, how many employees you have, what your capacity is, and whether you've got somebody in HR or whether you're just a small 2-person business, this might be worth it for you to spend this extra dollars to actually have that time tracking, have time sheets that your workers can use or whatever. But I guess that's really just kind of depends on what all those things that I mentioned. So let's go through some of the reports. That's one of the another of the features that I really love about QuickBooks is that it's got these some reports that are like favorite reports that you might use on an ongoing basis, all set up automatically in here as favorites. So you don't have to actually set those up. So if I was going to look at the accounts receivable aging summary, then it would give me a whole list. Looks like we have a payment here that is current. So we can see where that falls if it was 61 to 90, 91 and over. And then you've got your statement of activity and your statement of financial position. And these are 3 reports that I know with nonprofits, and I'm sure with businesses as well, that you would want to look at, but I know on a regular basis. But I know with nonprofit organizations, when you have your board meetings, it's to me, it's nice to have these particular statements, these reports that you can present at your board meetings that are already kind of automatically put together for you from all the information that's in QuickBooks. So I love that. The other automatic reports or standard reports that are set up in here is an audit log. I won't read all these off to you, but you can see all the different, there's a statement of activity, statement of activity detail, statement of cash flows, which is certainly important to make sure that, you know, you've got enough cash flowing through your business, your financial position. All those reports are automatic. So you can just click on either of any of those and get that report. Here's reports regarding who owes you. So you can quickly look at any of those. If I wanted to look at my pledge list, this one's going to be very similar to what my AR is. So this is what we've got invoiced currently. So there's tons and tons of reports in here that you can. Is there any particular report that you all see here that you might want to look at, just what it looks like? Who owes you? There's your sales and customers. So if you want to get a quick customer contact list, transaction list by customer, sales by a particular product or service by a particular product or service. Here's reports on what you owe. You can quickly want to look at what kind of unpaid bills there are. They don't have any unpaid bills. That's good. But you could, if you had unpaid bills, maybe you had entered them but hadn't paid them yet, you could certainly look at what those bills are, and what's coming up that you need to pay. There's more stuff related to your expenses, your vendors, purchase orders. So what kind of purchase orders do you have open out there? You want to get in touch with some vendors. You've got a quick vendor contact list that you can access and get in touch with vendors. There's your employee contact list, so all information about your employees. And then here's a list of all the different things that you can send to your accountant if you don't have your accountant automatically tied into here, but they want, they say, they want a reconciliation report or they want a statement of cash flows, then these are here that you can automatically get and send to them. And then payroll. So tons and tons of just standard reports that QuickBooks has already set up for you. You can click on these little stars here and make those favorite reports if you want to. You can also set up custom reports. And those might be, you want to go back and look at revenue from January to March. So you could actually go in and set up a custom report where it looked at that. And then you've got your other management reports that you can look at. So maybe let's look at a, see, isn't this nice? Has sets it up really nicely for you. Be great for board meetings. Would be great for, if you're looking for financing and you need to go to the bank, you need to show them some of your, different stuff for your company, sales performance, expense performance. And then you could print these out either on your computer, on your printer, or you could create a PDF of them, either one. Or you can download them too. Any particular reports that you all think you'd like to look at? I should have shown you that if I do any of these reports that are already set up, you can still customize that report. I know we do that a lot here at the nonprofit chamber, because we want to look at something that happened. We want to look at last month, or we want to look at last quarter, or I want to look at all of last year. I want to look in the last 90 days, the next quarter. But often we're going back and looking at the previous month. So if I wanted to go look at what happened in March, then I can customize this to go just look at March. And I can run that report. Well, nothing happened in March. But if it had, then, I could see just that activity that's specific to March. You can choose which columns that you want to display. You can choose not to show those columns that there's nothing on. You can compare to another period, which is great if you were looking at how did you do with your statement activity this time of the year, or this March of this year compared to March of last year. So you can do that comparison. So there's lots of different ways that you can create different reports. Lots of different ways you can look at different activity times. Any questions about any of that? Is this just dry as can be? For me, it is. It's technical though. So I love this fact that you can look down here on the taxes. You can set up your sales tax when you set it up. And QuickBooks will automatically help you do that. So you can use automatic sales tax, and you put in your address. So here's the address for this business. And it just guides you through the questions. Do you need to collect sales tax outside of Kansas? Well, we don't. And it looks like you need to pay tax to just one government office in Kansas. Then they'll calculate the sales tax. And then when you go to create an invoice, it'll automatically put that sales tax in for you. This is a nonprofit, so it wouldn't have tax, but so any questions about that? And then you've got your 1099 filings as well. So it'll set all that up for you. I don't know this tax ID number. That's not good. All right, let's go on to mileage. So this is a free app that you can actually add if you want to track mileage expenses. And Deneen, can you hear me? Deneen. I still want to find out what her company does. So here's where you track all of the, add a trip. So let's say I went to Topeka. The trip date was 4/15, what the distance was, what the start point was, the end point, the business purpose. I don't know, meeting with client, delivery, drop off. I don't know how many of you struggle with keeping track of all of that mileage that you might rack up when you're doing the jobs that you're doing, but you can also import trips. So I like this because I use an app called Mile IQ that automatically tracks the trips that I make. And I can export that information and I can import that information into QuickBooks. So it'll figure all this for me automatically at 0.585 cents per mile, which it automatically figure out what's the current IRS rate. So you don't have to worry about staying on top of that. It'll do it for you. Any questions about that? All right, we're going to go look at the chart of accounts under accounting. So as I said, when you go to set up your chart of accounts, and this is something that you really will want to do before you get into some of this other stuff. And of course, when we went to this little gear and we went to this, all these areas that you can set up when you're first setting up your account, there was an option there to set up your chart of accounts as well. So again, there's several different ways to do things. You've got your sidebar over here, but setting up your chart of accounts is pretty simple. And I can tell you that for this particular account, QuickBooks account that I have set up, or I haven't totally set it up, but I'm in the process of setting it up. Most of these things, Emprise Bank and Emprise Money Market weren't in here. I had to add those. But like this inventory asset and uncategorized asset, undeposited funds, all of these different things, donations, and you won't have donations in a business version. You just have that in the nonprofit version. Grants revenue, that's as you can see, that's nonprofit revenue. So that's automatically set up in the nonprofit version. I added the membership dues, the individual membership dues, and the neighborhood association membership dues. But many of these, cost of goods sold, advertising and marketing, these are all pre-set up for you. So you can go in and adjust them, but these are most common. These are the most common things that QuickBooks has identified that you might want to have in your chart of accounts. So let's say I'm going to go down here because I'm setting up my chart of accounts and I want to edit this one related to sales. So this is income. Okay. Anytime you do sales, hopefully it's going to generate income because we are taking in something. I want this to be, instead of sales of a particular product, I want this to be service fee revenue. And I want this to be for, let's say consulting. Okay, and so that's going to pop up right here and I can say save. So now I'm going to add that. But let's say I want to, wait, that's the wrong place. Let's say I want to create a new account. I want it to be under consulting. But this is going to be a different type of consulting. This is going to be neighborhood development. So maybe I want to go in and work with neighborhood associations. So as you can see, that's going to come as a particular type of consulting, neighborhood development. So I've just added something to my chart of accounts under consulting, the overall thing. I've now got neighborhood development. And let's say that I wanted to add under consulting, I wanted to add individual development. So now I've added under consulting individual type of development. That's one type of consulting. Neighborhood development, maybe that's another type of consulting, and that's gonna show up in my chart of accounts. So pretty easy, right? Yes, maybe. So that's literally how easy it is to add something to your chart of accounts. And then if you want to get an overall view, I should remind you that you can also import from another program, or again, lots of small businesses, nonprofits, maybe start using Excel. It's easy enough to import that. I can run a report and I can look at all my whole list of my different accounts that I have set up. So now because I've added that to my chart of accounts, if I went back here to invoicing and I'm going to go to pledges and I wanted to create an invoice for Andy, and it is for April 29th. Oh, I haven't created an item for that. Sorry. Service. I could go back here and I could choose under consulting. I now have neighborhood development. So it's going to go, I want this money from this consulting to go into the neighborhood development. I want it to be identified as that. So that's actually where it's going to go. And then I can bill out his account, which I won't because I don't want to mess up this account, but I can bill it out just like I was going to bill it out. Any questions about that?
No?
Try not to save too much in this account because when I go back to finish setting it up, I will regret that. This also allows you to do your reconciliation, which again, if you've got it connected up to your account is a lot easier, but you're going to go in, you could go in and put the ending balance of what your bank statement is and the date, the service charges, and then that kind of stuff. And then, oh gosh, let's see. So this will allow me to start working through reconciliation, just like you would do with your checking account. You're just doing it online. It'll pop up what expenses, what deposits occurred, and you can match those up. If this is, in this particular account is not set up to the bank account, I wished I'd have got that done prior. But if it was, it could show the deposits that weren't actually identified here, that happened in the bank account. And so you could reconcile those with QuickBooks to kind of show what that was particularly tied to. Here, Charity. So you can see these were the payments that were taken in through QuickBooks. Here's the undeposited funds, still showing up as undeposited funds because it's not tied to the account. Otherwise, it would show up as deposited funds because it could recognize that from the bank records. Any questions about reconciliation? All right, wait. Yeah, okay. So here's where you can invite your accountant. And you can invite up to 2 accountants to be able to go in and look up all the information, get whatever reports they need to make. We have a bookkeeper that has access, in addition to our regular accountant who does our taxes. We have a bookkeeper that goes into our account, has access, can help us with reconciliation and those kinds of things, simply because I don't have time. You can certainly find a pro to help you if you want, and they will make recommendations of different organizations, different accountants based on your location and that kind of thing, what your needs are. But I love the fact that I can give my accountant and my bookkeeper access to all of that information. So your capital, again, more things that QuickBooks will offer you that you can participate in the marketplace. You have to apply to do that. You can get other funding if you want to apply for that. Commerce, that this allows you to set up different shops and stuff. If you want to set up different shops, again, they charge you additional for that. I don't use that, but it certainly is an option. Apps. So there are tons and tons of apps that you can, again, I think I mentioned that earlier, that you can integrate with QuickBooks. These free ones certainly are good options. Connecting to PayPal, having all of those different things come automatically into your QuickBooks is certainly handy. I think we discussed all of these earlier. Is there any particular app, if you think you were using, or if you are using QuickBooks Online, or is there any particular thing you think you might like you're using, you might like to connect to QuickBooks? Any
Is
of you?
Venmo one that's connectable?
What's that?
Venmo, is that one that? you
Oh,
can connect?
Venmo? Well, let's look. I was thinking Venmo was, we use Venmo as well, and I was thinking that Venmo was not one of those that was an option.
That's good to know, though, for setting up.
It is. Yeah, and I have to tell you that I'm honestly not I'm not a big PayPal. I've had some real issues with PayPal in the past, so I'm not a big PayPal fan. Nope, I don't see Venmo as an option.
Thank you for checking.
But again, if you use Venmo, you can certainly export the reports from Venmo in an Excel spreadsheet and import that information into your QuickBooks. So I like the fact that it's easy enough to import and export stuff from QuickBooks. So any other apps anybody curious about? All right. Let's go back. Here's insurance. Something else that QuickBooks will help you find. So whether it's business owners, professional liability, again, workers' comp, cyber liability, you can connect your insurance documents. And I know with the Kansas Nonprofit Chamber, I think it's our general liability that we have connected just so we know it's there. But oh, we have our workers' comp because we don't buy workers' comp through QuickBooks. So we connected our workers' comp to QuickBooks. So you can certainly do that. I think that's all. I could look at my policies if I had any connected. You can actually connect to live bookkeeping on here. So you can actually find a bookkeeper, but they're going to charge you for that as well. Let's see what the prices are. $500 one time and $200 a month. So that's, I don't know if that's a good deal or not. I've not hired where I actually had to pay for somebody to do bookkeeping. Does anybody know if that's a good deal or not?
I have no idea.
I don't either. All right, so I want to go, is there any questions about any of this or anything else that you all would like to see in relation to any of this that's on this sidebar? Anything else I can show you that's related to any of this?
No.
No? Okay. I want to go back over here because I didn't touch on just setting up a personal profile and stuff in your Intuit account. But when you set up, you can go in here and you can set up your profile. You can add a logo if you want. You can add your personal picture if you want. Certainly there's an opportunity to change your login, those kind of things. If you want to do that. It's probably not something that we do very often. I don't have my date of birth and stuff in here, but you can certainly add that if you want to add that to your QuickBooks account. I have not put the organization's address or anything in here. This is just information about your data privacy and what you want to keep private and what you don't. This is another place where you can look at what your products are and you can look up the billing for the particular products. So I could pick, change my subscription and stuff just like I could with that little gear that I showed you. And then you can change your payment methods in here. So you can add a payment method if you want. Unless you're, if you've got QuickBooks Online for $75 a year through TechSoup, you would pay that through TechSoup. So you wouldn't necessarily have to have a payment method set up in QuickBooks. But if you were subscribing to QuickBooks Online and you were a small business, they'll automatically bill you for that every month. So certainly that would be a reason to set up that payment method. All right, and then We go back. So I want to go back to a little bit of back to this little gear that we started at, because there's other things here that I want to talk to you about. Let's look at, I already talked to you about managing users. I want to look at this custom form styles. So you can set up forms, invoices in a number of different ways. You can set up what exactly you want those invoices to look like, and both the design. So they've got lots of templates that you can choose what you want those invoices to look like. If you've got a certain style that you feel like coincides with your business, got different colors and those types of things. So you can pick any of those different styles. You can certainly add, you can see that I've added the logo here, and you can upload your logo easily enough by just picking this, that plus right there. You can change out your logo, but you can also change the size of your logo. So you can make it smaller. There's really small. See, I love the fact that you can customize all of this. I've got this placed here, but if I wanted to place it in the middle, I could place it in the middle. If I want it to be over here, I could place it over here. So you have the option to customize in whatever way you want to customize your invoice. If I wanted to splash on some color, so I wanted to change that and make it green. I wanted to make it purple. I wanted to change up the template and make it friendly. And I wanted to make this green. So customize in whatever way that you want to customize and have some control over how that invoice looks. You can also choose a lot of different fonts for your invoice. There's that one. Here's a Times New Roman. You can make it smaller if you'd like, make it bigger if you like. So whatever way you want to customize, you want to take a look at it before you actually decide on what you want. You can certainly print it out. This allows you to set your margins and all, or you can preview it as a PDF just to kind of see what it's going to look like. So there's the invoice. So I love the fact that it's easy enough to do that. So that's the design part. You can also change up the content that you have. So you just click on content and you'd go over here and you would change whatever it is. You could change the name of the organization. Certainly if the phone number changes, you could change the phone number, the email. You can add the address if you want. You can add the website if you want. It doesn't like my phone number for whatever reason. You can hide the country. So all the invoices you see here where it prints out or it has US on it, you can hide that if you want. As long as you're in the US, there's probably not really much reason to show that. And then you can customize, what do you want this to be called? Do you want this to be called an invoice over here? You want it to be an estimate, sales receipt, credit memo, so you can choose any of those. You can choose what invoice number you want to start with. So if I wanted this to start with a different number, I can change that out. And then you can display shipping address, billing address, a due date or expiration date. And then you can create custom fields if you want. So whatever the name of that custom field that you want to add, you can just put it up here and then choose what to do with that. The other thing is, this is what, when you send out an invoice and you email it out, this is kind of what it looks like. And so you can set up the different options for that as well. And of course, these colors change based on what design choices you made with the design of your invoice. So you can choose, what do you want the full details of all of this stuff to show up in that, when they get that email? Do you want just some summarized details so you can see there's not near as much information? When they get this email again, they can click on review and pay if you've got that set up. And so they can automatically just click on that and pay. You can choose whether or not you want to actually attach a PDF version of the invoice. So not only will they see this and they can review and pay, but at the bottom there would be an attachment that would allow them to easily print that out and just send it in with a check. So you can edit the email your customers get with every form. So if you want to create a default, if you're sending out mostly invoices, you want to create a default for invoices or estimate or just a sales receipt, you can choose to set up a default there. This subject right here that you can change. So that would, if we said, I can take out the word pledge, but I can tell you that in the nonprofit version, I always laugh because if you take out the word pledge, it says pledge email subject must include pledge. It's not like that with the for-profit option. I'm not crazy about that, but anyways, you can pick your greeting. So whether you want to use to or dear, or you want to leave that blank, you want to use their full name, you want to just use their title and their last name. So how do you want that to be addressed to them? You want to just use the company name for this. So you can make all those customizations, and then you can make a customized message that will automatically go into every invoice or estimate or whatever it is that you're sending out. So this one says, we appreciate your continued membership with Wichita Independent Neighborhoods. Please find your invoice for your dues below. But however you want to customize that, you can certainly customize that. So that all of that allows you to really have control over what the look is of your invoices, your sales receipts, your estimates, however you want to customize. Anybody else like that, or is it just me? You do have, let's see, was there anything else in here I wanted to cover? Is there anything in here that we didn't cover the first time that you would want me to cover, or you have questions about in relation to the account and settings?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm in fact covering everything that. Custom forms, chart of, is there anything in the chart of accounts that you feel like you'd like to know more about? I didn't cover the fact that because they have these preset chart of accounts in QuickBooks, and like this organization, I can tell you, won't this out of scope agency payable, which is current liabilities, we will not use that. So I'm just going to make this inactive. Oh, all right. I can't make that particular one because I did the Kansas Department of Revenue. Let's pick another one. I'm gonna go make this consulting inactive because they won't be doing that either. Nope, it's not gonna let me do that one. Let me find another one. Let me find another one that will let me make inactive. Cost of goods sold. Let's see if it'll let me make this one inactive. Okay. But we're not going to use cost of goods sold. That's not what this organization does. So you can make any of these inactive. Well, not obviously not any because some are tied to the others. But if there were certain things in here you went through and you're like, we're never going to do that, then you can certainly work to make those inactive. Because you do only have 250 accounts. And again, I think probably most of you that are on this Zoom training today are not likely to go over that 250 accounts. So to me, that again seems just like a whole lot of accounts. But Deneen, is there any questions? I wanted to get to you particularly because I know you weren't sure about the chart of accounts. Is there anything particular that I can answer for you regarding the chart of accounts?
Not at this moment. There's a lot of information to take in.
It is.
Right. But I think that with the information you're going to send out, as well as just being able to look online too, I think that's going to be very helpful.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I hope by sending that kind of some of this with pictures and stuff all in print that would kind of help give you something to refer back to. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The QuickBook Labs really is just an opportunity to experiment with some of the plugins. I've not done this in the past, so I can't tell you a lot about it, just that it's an option for you to actually add. And then let's see what else I want to. This is really just kind of talks about what these different things do. And of course, it's another way to reach those things, but lists, products and services, we talked about that. I would go in if I was setting up QuickBooks. I know we set up some things in some of the invoices, but I would go in and make a good list of what all your products and services are, or what your donation options are, that kind of thing. If you wanted to, when you go to set this up, I'm sorry. And certainly you can add particular different categories of stuff. You know, here at the nonprofit chamber, we have revenue coming in from consulting, from memberships, from events that we do, from well, that's probably a conference that we do, from job postings that we post for nonprofit organizations or businesses. So we have quite a few different categories here that we add, and it's easy enough to add a different category. And this is really not much different than what I showed you on the chart of accounts and how you're setting those up. It's just a different way to do it. And again, you'll find lots of different ways within QuickBooks to do the same thing. So if you get a little bit lost and aren't sure, you're likely to find something that you click on that will actually do what you want to do. Any questions about the products and services? We went over recurring transactions. I think we've talked several times about the opportunity to add attachments for different things. That's a great way to cut down on your paper. There's lots of different ways to add custom fields to different things. This has to do with adding the custom fields to your different forms. That's another way you can do that. Tags, order checks. So interestingly enough, you can use QuickBooks to print out your checks to make payments for things if you want to do that. You don't actually have to buy the checks from QuickBooks. You can buy them. Amazon has several different options for buying those checks, but they have templates that will align with whatever checks that you buy if you want to happen to use their, that option to be able to print out checks to pay your bills or other things. Checks, import data. So this allows you to import that data from, again, from previous programs that you've exported into Excel files. You can certainly import that information. Just have to go and click on that and find what it is that you want to export, what you want to import. Look, it does Google Sheets as well. So you just have to pick, is it customers that you want to import? Is it vendors that you want to import? Is it a previous chart of accounts? Is it the products or services? So just make sure that whatever it is that you want to import. If you want to import vendors, make sure you're clicking on the one related to vendors. And you can see here, only the vendor name is required. So if you don't have all the other information for your vendors, that's fine. It'll import what you've got. It'll do a CSV file or Google Sheet, either one. I always think Excel is the easiest to work with those. CSV has there's some idiosyncrasies about CSVs that I find don't always import, I think, the way they should. Oh, and for who was it that's using the QuickBooks desktop? You can import from the QuickBooks desktop data as well. Okay, let's go back to reconciling a bank account. So you would simply go, and again, there's a couple of different ways that you can reconcile. I like this little gear up here. So you would just go to reconcile. You would decide what. So let's go to Emprise Bank. We would put in the ending balance of what it says on the bank statement. The ending date. Let's say it's March 31st. Let's say the service charges for the bank charges fees is $7. Set that to the 31st. Say there's no interest earned, but if there was interest earned, you could pick where do you want that interest to be, where do you want that to go in your chart of accounts. And then you just click start reconciling. So here's the difference between what my beginning and my ending minus my $7 service charge payment. So it's going to want to know where all the rest of this money came from. And unfortunately, if I don't have this connected to a bank account, but if I had it connected to a bank account, this would list all the transactions in the bank account, and I would need to match them up with what I've entered in QuickBooks. Does that help?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you can pick whether you wanted to reconcile just the payments or whether you want to reconcile just the deposits. Or I have it all on all. But this is what you're gonna reconcile to. So, and if you want to, you're in the middle and you want to finish it later, you can finish it later. You can certainly edit the information you put in first. So but that's kind of the basic of how you reconcile. Oh, let's talk about budgeting. Let's do that. So I love the fact that you can put, if you put your budget in when you're setting this up. You know what? It's 11:03. Oh, wait, I have a question. Let's take another 5-minute break. Wait, this says if you check off manually the checks and deposits and reconcile, will it show what is outstanding? Yes. Yes, it will. Let's go ahead and take a quick, just like a 5-minute break and come back and let's go through this budgeting process. Okay. So let's come back at 11:10. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm back and ready whenever you are. I can't hear you again.
I'm glad that you tell me that. We'll-
Thank
we
you.
will come back to the Lois, we'll come back to that sales tax question that you had, okay? So this budget form, whatever your annual budget is that that you set up, this allows you to put your budget, your annual budget, into QuickBooks. So this then allows you to do a comparison of where you're at in comparison to your annual budget, where you're at with expenses, revenue, all those different things. So it's another feature that I love about QuickBooks, because I can kind of quickly decide, check that out and find out how are we really doing compared to what we budgeted for. And so you can, I think the other thing about creating this budget is it aligns with what your chart of accounts says. So if you're going through the creation, you've created your budget and you're going to enter it into QuickBooks, you can probably quickly identify if there's something that you have on your budget that you don't have in your chart of accounts that you should add to your chart of accounts, whether it's a product or a service or any of a number of things. But I like the fact that you can quickly go through and kind of figure out what else that needs to be added. And of course, it also gives you an opportunity to look at your reconciliation discrepancies and those types of things. So you can set this up when you do your budget. You don't have to do it monthly. If you don't want to do it, you can set this up and enter it in yearly. So that'll do the whole January through December. You want to break it down monthly, you can certainly do that, or you can break it down quarterly. You have the option of whether or not you want to pre-fill the data in this budget form. So do you want to take this account's been set up since 2021 or partly set up, whether you want to take the actual data from 2021 or the actual data from 2022 and populate this budget, and whether or not you want it to subdivide. And certainly, you can, if this is automatically set up fiscal year 2022, 21, so on and so forth. So it's set up for the next few years. But you would go in again and figure out what your budget amounts for each of these items. So you can also use this as a guiding tool if you're not accustomed to doing a budget. And I find I work with both business and mentor both businesses and nonprofit organizations in a number of different ways, whether it's startup businesses or startup nonprofits that are just, they're just starting out on setting up some of these things. So it also is just a good guiding document when they're putting their budgets together to say, oh, I hadn't considered, what I'm paying for rent, or I hadn't considered what I was paying for utilities, or I hadn't considered what I was paying for bank charges and fees and I pay $7 a month for that. I need to put that into my budget. So I like that it provides kind of a guiding tool for doing that. So any questions about this creating your budget in QuickBooks?
No, ma'am.
Let's see. So I'm going to go back. So all of these sales tax, the liability, I'm hoping this is what Lois is looking for, the different reports related to sales tax, liability detail, the summary. Is that kind of what you're looking for, Lois? Yes, okay. So those are easy enough to find in your reports. And again, if I had sales tax in here, then certainly, we could take a look at that. But again, you can customize that by the quarter, by the week, by a custom date if you wanted, by last year, 30 days ago. There's just a number of different ways you can configure that report and run it. You can certainly print the report if you want to. You can email the report to somebody if you want to. You can export the report if you want to export that as well, either in Excel or as a PDF. But any of these, like I said, there's several different related to that, those taxes. Are you good with that? Yes, you can put in that custom date. So if I wanted to put in 1/1 to 1/2 and I wanted to run that report, I could certainly run that report. It doesn't have any data, but I could certainly run that report. And that's all you do is just pick custom and the date you want to run. You can pick the tax agency, Kansas Department of Revenue, run report. You can even choose whether the accounting method that you're using is accrual or cash, because of course, that can change that. And I'm not sure why you would ever want to do it, but you can change the name of the organization and whether or not you would want to show the logo or something. Maybe somebody else has an idea. I can't think of why I'd ever want to do that, because if it's the Wichita Independent Neighborhoods sales tax liability, then that's what I'd want to show on the top of the report. But maybe for some reason, anybody of you that have done QuickBooks or something for a while would know why you would want to change the name. All right, me either. Trying to keep on top of the chat. Certainly ask any questions if you have. If you've got them, you want to ask questions. Let's see. If you have a 1099, then you check it in active. If you don't want it to show in report, that is correct. Yes. I'd like to take a minute and go back to customers and just talk a little bit more about when you go to set up customers that you're going to invoice, because I think that there's more that I'd really like to cover with you. There was something in particular that I'm thinking, oh, I didn't cover that with you very well. No, it's not that. Let me pick on an existing customer. So when you've got your existing customers in here, you've added a customer. You're right. QuickBooks will not let you use a customer name and the same name as a vendor without some type of change. You are absolutely correct. That's one of those things I discovered a couple of years ago. It also will not let you use an employee if you've got an employee name in QuickBooks. I have found that you also cannot set up that employee as a vendor. So there has to be some different type of name as well. That's yeah. I'm not sure why that is, but it is. Also, if it is a 1099, okay. I hadn't discovered that yet, but there's a few little kind of odd things. I think overall, and I don't sell QuickBooks, so I just want you to know I'm not into selling QuickBooks or anything like that. They don't pay me to promote them or anything like that. I just happen to like the program a lot, and I think from the standpoint of a small organization that needs something really to manage their finances and their invoices and everything like that, I think QuickBooks had been a great tool for us. I think it's certainly been easy enough to use, because even though I have taken some accounting classes in several over the years and all, and I knew some basics about accounting, there's just so much I think that QuickBooks provides that I think it's a great tool. I want to edit. That's not what I want to do either. Let's see. I just add a surname or something, the name like Mr. to the vendor name. Oh, is that what you do? Oh, that's a great idea. I think I did not realize that small of a change would actually allow for that. Okay. Good input, Lois.
When I have a situation like that, I just put an asterisk back of one of the names.
Okay.
And that'll do it too.
That's probably a good idea. A good idea as well. Now I can't think of what it was. There was something else I wanted to show you about customers, and now I can't think of what it is. And it had to do with editing a customer. Oh, here it is. Customer details. Yes, I found it. So if you click on customer details under your particular customer, I like the fact that I can quickly see their transaction list. I know I talked to you earlier about projects. If we had put in a project that was tied to Alita, then we would be able to see the details of that project that was tied to her. In these customer details, it seems like there's a lot more information that you can add here, but I love the fact that you can add notes. Oh, I wish you would quit popping up that way. I don't want you to do that. That you can add any kind of attachments, but that you can add specific terms for this particular customer, that you can add again that customer type. That you can customize whatever late fees that you want to set for that particular customer. I don't really know why organizations would have a different like set of late fees for one customer that then maybe they have for another customer. Maybe they have a special deal. I'm not really sure. Maybe one of you all can answer that question, but to me, it just seems like you would set up late fees up in your settings up here in your little gear settings. And you wouldn't set up custom ones, but you can certainly do that. I'm going back over here again because oh, there was something. Yeah, making sure that you can set up their primary payment method. So how do they want to pay? And you can actually, if they wanted to pay by credit card, you can actually set it up on their invoice where you can run the credit card through. See right here, enter credit card details. So I could put in her credit card information. I could save that credit card information. And so it's there if she wants to be billed on an ongoing basis, or you've got somebody that is a donor that wants to do like a recurring donation. You could certainly set that up where that is billed to their credit card. And I know that sometimes that's something that organizations want. So I wanted to make sure that I covered that. You can certainly here determine whether that customer is tax exempt. So maybe you're doing business with a nonprofit that does have a tax exemption, and you can certainly customize their sales tax rate here based on the location. I think that covered everything that I wanted to cover in that. Oh, you can also make a customer inactive here on their account as well. So they won't show up if you happen to make them inactive, and maybe you just want to do that to kind of keep your customer base clean, depending on what type of business that you do. All right. What other questions, or is there anything else that I can show you today that you have questions about? Anything else you want to do in QuickBooks that I might be able to tell you how you can do? No? Well, it's just about 11:30, and you all have been a very quiet group. You've not been out of control or unruly. You haven't had a lot of questions, and generally I build in quite a bit of time for questions or other things that people want to see, but I'm not going to keep you on here if there's not something else that I can show you, or you don't have other questions, because I'm sure everybody can use an additional 30 minutes in their day to do something. I know I can always, tag on to an additional 30 minutes, but again, I also don't want to leave you with lingering questions or anything like that. So certainly if you have them, ask. And then do I know if the QuickBooks Pro is any different? So this is a version of the QuickBooks Pro, and I think there are some additional features that QuickBooks Pro has. I'm not as familiar with QuickBooks Pro, so I won't answer that very clearly. Is there something, I'm curious, Lois, is there something in here that you think this doesn't do that you'd want to do? She's typing, I know. I will, by tomorrow, get this document out to you that goes through much of the stuff that we've discussed today. I think it goes through all of the stuff that we discussed today. And I will be sending a link to this recording should you want to watch all this again. I will be sending a link to this recording to North Central Regional Planning Commission, so they should be getting that out to you as well if you want to watch it, all of this again. It will certainly have my contact information as well. So if there's something that I can help you with, or you get into setting up QuickBooks or anything like that, and you just need a little bit of support, then I'm happy to do that for you. I love serving people and helping them learn new things. And although QuickBooks is a little bit outside of what I normally do, certainly I taught a number of people with the nonprofits that I work with on the ins and outs of QuickBooks. So I'm happy to help in any other way. Lois says she was always suggested by them to do pro, so just wondered. Yeah. Okay, well, if no other questions, I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach you a little bit about QuickBooks. So
Thank you so much for taking the time.
you bet. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.